Good morning. Uh, Good morning, everyone. Hi. Hope everyone's well. um, Hope everything's working properly. Yesterday's stream. I'm getting right into it. The around the 1 hour 30 minutes mark. The audio desyncs in the VOD on YouTube. On Twitch, it's fine. It just cuts out a chunk. On YouTube, the audio is just desynced for the rest of the VOD. I don't know why. Maybe I briefly disconnected in that stream or something. But yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But I mean, at least the stream is still intact. It's just slightly desynced, which I mean isn't great, but it's a visual novel, so I guess it's kind of okay. It's not gameplay is completely desynced. But yeah, that's annoying. Also, just before the stream started, I watched the latest episode of the Ave anime. I don't shut up about that anime, especially if you follow me on Tumblr. Sorry, it's been a while, yeah. But yeah, so I just watched the latest episode of Ave and I bawled my little eyes out. And then I'm like, right, well, time to stream. It's so good. So yeah, so yesterday I really enjoyed it. What we're up to in this game. We are home alone, parents are out, and Rena, she's like, Keiichi, I got you some food, and then he's like, nuh-uh, and traps her fingers in the door, and then at night she's standing out in the rain, apologizing. It's so good. Oh, but yeah, man, I'm so Ave Mishika brain. If you I mean, if you're watching this because you like Higurashi, I think you would probably enjoy the Ave Mujika anime. I could go on for ages about Ave Mujika, my girl. Oh, my headphones are falling. I won't. But yeah, it's really good. You'll probably enjoy it. Anyways, let's okay, new tips. Yeah, yesterday's stream, this chapter was a long one. Alright, so this is, what was it? Split personality? See it in movies quite often, but what is it exactly? Multiple personalities are thought to be escapism. Multiple personality disorder is a form of escape? Correct. The exact mechanism is not fully understood, but it's believed to be a type of defense for the brain to retain mental stability. Hypothetically, poor people imagining themselves as wealthy is a form of escapism, is it not? Is this also a form of multiple personality disorder? I wouldn't go that far, but broadly speaking, one could infer that. What are you fucking talking about? It's something that occurs in us all. Okay, this is a completely different understanding. Does a split personality occur when one cannot tell which is reality and which is the escape? That's difficult to say. There are some who agree with that and some who disagree. There is no consensus. Then is the occurrence of multiple personalities still an unknown phenomenon, something not fully comprehended in the psychiatric field? This could also be, when does Higurashi take place? I don't remember, but it could also be of the time. And also of the time when the game was actually made. Anyways. Unfortunately, that is the current state of things. We can only put our hope in future research. But it's sort of cool having a split personality. What kind of people get split personalities? Recent studies find that those who develop it, or rather those who are more susceptible to developing it, may be genetically predisposed or may have had abnormal mental development. Wow, words. Mental development. Some say that childhood abuse increases the chances. Speaking of which, Person A here experienced abuse as a child, didn't he? How sad. Person A has 7 different personalities. Let's watch a video of him. Right after these commercials. Okay, so this is a TV station. Alright, this makes sense. At the 7th Mart. Oh yeah, because Rena was like... what was it, like pork and ginger ramen? Like, I watched you get it. 7th Mart was a bargain supermarket with food and alcohol. What's this, Keiichi? So many! There's no reason to get all the different kinds, is there? I flopped all the different coloured cup noodle bowls into the cart. Cup noodles have gotten so elaborate recently, and there are a bunch of different types. I want to try each of them at least once. I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I'd at least give it a try. Keiichi. Buy them in the big case, it's cheaper. Dad faltered. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. Now that Dad had thrown his hat into the ring, I'd have to compromise. And I'd only get to eat one kind, I'd get bored with it. I was resisting as a formality. I'd already given up inside and wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. If you can't pick, then Mommy will pick for you. You don't have to rush me. I quickly searched the cases of noodles for what I want. Pork bone and ginger, a large cup. Hey Keiichi, can't you get a more normal one? If I let Mom pick, she'd err on the side of safety and get soy sauce or salt flavored. When I plonked a large box of pork bone flavor in the shopping cart, Mom looked back at me with an expression as if to say, "These ones?" Let me know if the audio is okay, by the way. My chair is squeaking a little bit and it's kind of driving me mad. To show her this was my last compromise, I began explaining the choice. Pork bone is good. You get a large serving, but the flavor isn't too strong. I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. Little did I know this would be the last kind of noodles I would ever buy. In this frozen memory in time, this encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings, so I did what I could and reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Rena. I rewound the situation, searching, but of course I couldn't find her. Then, was she spying on me? Spying at me from my blind spot? I go through the sound and presence again, looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way and no one trying to get behind me. Give me one moment, I will be back. All is well. There was nobody looking over this way and no one trying to get behind me. Not here. Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice if someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. Then I paused my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror unlike any other. If a presence really had manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store, searching for a case of noodles, running through the instant noodle section, bad-mouthing my mom. But there was that presence constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. Realizing it now after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment of time, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap. But listening to that moment again, I could hear footsteps other than mine going pit-pat with every step. Tip-tap, tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap. Pit-pat, pit-pat. While I was running, the sound of those barefoot footsteps going pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat were right behind mine. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time, but I didn't hear it. No, I heard it, that's why I remembered it. I didn't think I had heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That is why I didn't turn around. In that moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run any faster than I had ran at the time. I couldn't turn around. I hadn't turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That is why it made no sound. That was all. At that time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. Not the pit-pat! That shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. I wanted to end it. Someone turn on the light. Except my body couldn't move. As if I was sewn into that moment in time. Pit-pat. My past self's hair stood on end. That's impossible? Now that's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved, so you shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move. So you shouldn't have been able to move either. Follow the rules. Pit-pat. Yet that sound echoed in the darkness once again. The hair on the back of my neck pricked up on end. It was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move, like how the presence was moving behind me? I quickly realized. I could move. It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment in time, but I needed to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, it began to administer a pain like a needle being stuck into my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalize. Roo! I turned around. At first, couldn't understand the meaning of it. But what? What is this? Just as a person's mouth might bite into an apple, slurp the juices, and finally discover that it was an apple, my mind began to process the scene before my eyes by eating the apple. Munch munch, chew chew, slurp the juices, and discover the apple. Meaning, what was in front of me was an apple! Gwah! What was in front of you? What was in front of you, Keiichi? What was in front of you? Let's continue. I don't actually remember how many chapters are in this this chapter. I guess I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any sleep. I tried to stay awake all night, but there were definitely gaps in my memory. I guess I kept nodding off and jerking awake in a panic all night. I spent all night hugging the metal bat and sat on top of the futon I used to barricade my door. Waiting, watching just in case someone tried to break in through my window. If I left this spot, someone would break through the door, sending the futon flying and attack me. But if I stopped watching the window, someone would break through the glass and attack me. I tried telling myself I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't sleep. The thought of being so vulnerable scared the living daylights out of me. If sleep meant taking that risk, I didn't need it. It was so much better to just stay awake. At some point during that endless cycle of nodding off and jolting awake, light began to shine outside, but that was it. It wasn't so much the morning as it was just the sun simply having risen. I snuck a peek out through the curtains. Rena was gone. Couldn't see her anywhere no matter how hard I looked. Finally I could breathe a deep sigh of relief. The night was finally over. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tired, but I didn't feel like sleeping at the moment. I still had time. But I needed to make my own breakfast, so I'd better get started soon. Oh yeah, and Keiichi's absolutely just destroyed the place. Like, he bashed up the entryway with a baseball bat. He rummaged through trash looking for a needle. And he was like, wasn't he like hitting it? Because then he's like, yes, if I like smack the trash, then I'll feel the needle. And so he's just splattering rubbish everywhere. Didn't he also like pulled up the carpet? Like where he threw the mochi against the wall? He's like got his like futon against the door. He's just like, oh my god. Skipping school was also an option. With my mum gone, it'd be easy to play hooky. Honestly, I debated it. The risk involved in leaving my house was incalculable, so staying holed up in here was probably my safest option, but staying here wouldn't solve anything. Oishi-san wouldn't help me without cold, hard evidence. Neither he nor my parents. So, unless I found some sort of proof, those relentless nights would never end. I stretched my body, tilted my head back, and closed my eyes just like I did every morning. That's nice. Just, you know, getting into character. This is, this is, like, actually, like, unrelated. You have to be in my brain to know what the fuck I'm on about. So I got my ears pierced, on my birthday, last year, I guess. But they have not been healing well. And so yesterday I finally went to like a piercing place and they helped change over the piercings and oh my god, it's so much better. I've got like, you know, like the sleeper, like little rings. I've got those. It's so much better. Holy shit. And I got like a pillow for like, it's got like a hole in it that you can put your ear in. It's so much better. I'm so relieved. I regulated my breathing and regained my senses. Do some deep breaths. So calm. So calm. Why so calm? I'm so normal. Calm down, Keiichi Mayabara. Let's go to school. Let's wait until they set the trap for me. That didn't mean I was just gonna twiddle my thumbs. I needed to avoid that trap and secure irrefutable evidence. So he like... Rena, like... Cause she could have just been kind of joking around. She could have been. He slammed the door on her fingers. And then she stood out in the rain, like traumatized. Gonna be awkward. It's gonna be awkward. Take note of the plates of any car that drives by. If I see someone suspicious, check their clothes and face. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was preparing myself to turn their attack against them and retaliate. The tension was similar to when two samurai were both aiming to slay each other with a single motion as they drew their katanas. I was not at a disadvantage. I would have a chance to retaliate. I finally felt a bit of courage growing in my chest. Alright, let's go to school. I tightened my grip on Satoshi's bat. Oh yeah, and Reina was like, why are you doing everything that Satoshi did before he transferred? He was the only partner I could count on. Satoshi, please lend me your strength. And entrust your dying regrets to me, since you were probably murdered. I'll make sure I dispel them. He's so normal. With renewed resolve, I checked the clock. My favorite clock. It was still early. Of course, I was going to school by myself today. If I didn't want to run into Reno and Mion, I needed to leave now. The shattered fragments of the cupboard were still strewn all over the entryway. Right. I meant to clean that up last night, but never got around to it with the phone call and everything. If my parents came back and saw this while I was at school, I would never hear the end of it. Still, I'd be wasting time if I cleaned it up right now, and considering what would happen if I ran into Reno or Mion, it wouldn't be too late to clean it up after I got back home. Making extra certain that the doors were locked, I left the house. My uniform was still covered in mud from yesterday, so I left it in the washer. Today I was going to go to school in a tracksuit. By wearing a different outfit this morning. Yeah, he was, like, a van, like, almost ran him over. Keiichi's really going through it. By wearing a different outfit this morning, my mind was forced to accept that today was different from yesterday. I had a hunch. Today might be the day I get killed. Keep your guard up, Keiichi Maebara. The only one who gets to decide if today is my last is me. I'm gonna quickly look something up. Oh, okay, okay. I see. I spent the morning practicing my swing like it was my natural routine. After a while, Rena arrived at school. Our eyes met, but we said nothing. Rena said nothing about last night, as if it never happened. I could see that those events were real by the wounds carved into her fingers. I just heard her telling Satoko and the others that the bandages were from hurting herself in the kitchen. Though it wasn't like it bothered me. The details that Oishi-san shared about Rena's incident before her transfer played vividly in my mind. Now that I knew about it, I couldn't even dream of Ren as a cute, ideal girl. What? Your cute, ideal girl doesn't, like, break every window in her school? And maybe, did she, like, hurt someone as well? I don't know. Kei-chan, I see you're still aiming for the nationals. It was Mion. I'd already sensed her approach, so I wasn't that surprised. Oh, Mion. If you understand, then leave me alone. I'm busy practicing. I gave her a curt reply without my usual jokes. Then I gave the bat an even larger swing. Tacitly?
Tacitly.
Tacitly. In a way that is understood or implied without being directly stated. Tacitly. Tacitly keeping Mion from getting any closer. Hey, Kei-chan, take it easy. I think Mion got the message, but she still urged me to give it a rest. Homeroom's not that far off, is it? Just let me finish practicing. I swung the bat even harder as a sign of my refusal. Kei-chan, when did you get into baseball? Just recently. Recently? You mean yesterday? Don't ask if you already know. Oh dear. It's a very unsportsmanlike reply. You're distracting me. Go away. I ignored Mion and kept swinging. Normally she'd get mad or bored and leave if someone gave her the cold shoulder like this, but Mion just stood there, waiting patiently for me to stop swinging. I didn't sense any hostility, but we were at school in plain view. Is she, like, worried about him? I'm trying to give them, like, the most, what's the word? Like, favorable? Like, reading? Really trying to give him the benefit of the doubt? I doubt she'd suddenly attack me here. Or was that too naive? Still, I was starting to get tired. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to take a break and hear her out. You need me for something, right? What is it? Sweat poured from me as I stopped swinging. I noticed my shoulders were heaving as I breathed. I cursed my lack of exercise. At this rate, I might not be able to move as needed when the time came. I should probably keep practicing my swings to build stamina in addition to the excuse for carrying the bat around with me. Well, it's nothing important. If you're tired, I can ask again later. Now is fine. I'm only dealing with you right now because I judged this situation to be safe. Talking to you alone and away from others, that's out of the question. Well, Mion was uncharacteristically trying to choose her words. But unlike Oishi-san, it didn't look like she was going to talk about something I'd rather not hear. Mion was puzzled, trying to find the right thing to say. Then she gave a hearty laugh to break herself out of that mire. This old man's just no good at this stuff. Having a poor vocabulary hurts. What's this all of a sudden? You have something to say, just say it. Stop it. Stop that swinging. She cut straight to the point. Her request was so frank I didn't understand it for a moment. I'd already stopped swinging to listen to her, hadn't I? I just stopped, didn't I? That's not what I meant. I want today to be the last day you swing that bat. I'm sorry. It took me some time to understand what she was asking for. What's wrong with swinging a bat? Why? It's none of your business, is it? I'm not bothering anyone, am I? You are. Mion said it flat out. This didn't make any sense and that was really irritating. When did I bother anybody? Mion was at a loss for words. But she finally made up her mind and spoke, though she stuttered as she said it. But because Kei-chan, that's someone else's bat. You shouldn't borrow it without permission. It was left behind by a student who transferred, right? I'm just borrowing it until he comes back for it. Yeah, he transferred. Mion grew uncharacteristically flustered. That made it all too clear that his transfer was a lie. It's strange, isn't it? The older brother to transfer by himself, while his little sister stayed behind. Mion couldn't hide her reaction as my words shook her up. Kei-chan, you knew? Satoshi Hojo, Satoko's older brother, right? The one demoned away last year. Unable to respond to that, Mion fell silent. Rena asked the same thing. Why did you start swinging that bat? She told me Satoshi did the same thing, practicing his swings, right before he went missing. So, this some kind of omen for Oyashiro-sama's curse? Shh! Mion panicked and looked around. Please, Kei-chan, don't mention Oyashiro-sama so recklessly. I don't believe in him, but the others very much do. Rena especially. Dangerously so. Anyway, you're scaring everyone. You're just fooling around and stop it. You have to stop acting like Satoshi. I was the one who was scared. Who do I have to thank for taking up this bat in the first place? But it still unsettled me knowing that my actions were overlapping with Satoshi's. It would be one thing if someone suggested it, but I thought I was making my own decisions. I'll say this now. I don't know anything about Satoshi. After all, you didn't tell me anything about him. But we didn't mean to hide it. You were hiding the incidents that happen every year, weren't you? That's because we didn't want to, You didn't want to scare me? That's your reason for leaving me out? No, we didn't mean to... Mion, I asked you directly if something happened at the dam, didn't I? And you told me nothing happened. When someone was dismembered and murdered, you lied to me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to lie to you. Friends don't hide things from each other, right? Isn't that right? Then you all aren't my friends. Kei-chan, Mion looked helpless and flustered. Was I imagining the tears in her eyes? I never could have imagined Mion acting like this. Oh, by the way, those get well mochi you brought me the other day, they were good. I thought I was gonna bleed. Who did it? You? Or Rena? Me. Oh! So Mion put the needle in the mochi? Is she just trying to play a prank? What the fuck, Mion? That's really fucked up. She admitted it so easily. Or is she talking about something else? She can't be. I couldn't help but be surprised at how easy that was. You could have killed me. How could you do that to a friend? But it was just a little prank. Mion gave me a wry smile mixed with confusion, causing even more anger to well up inside me. You think that was a prank? I grabbed Mion by the collar and lifted her up. It wasn't the same as putting Tabasco sauce in a piece of mochi. Is that like spicy? Welcome back to another episode of Laz Looks Things Up. Okay, yeah, it's spicy sauce. It was a needle, a sewing needle. I had swallowed that and it lodged in my throat. What did she think would happen? I mean, kids do stupid things, right? Right? Mion's face froze as her body rattled in fear. This wasn't the Mion Sonozaki I knew anymore. Anyways, you're not my friend. There's no reason for me to listen to someone who's not my friend. So just leave me alone for a while. Got it? Mion wasn't replying anymore. It won't be that easy to erase me, you know. The cops have been onto you from the start. So don't think you can make me disappear like you did Satoshi. Ooh, shit. He's just saying it. I said it clearly. This was my declaration of war. I think you guys are suspects in the previous incidents too. I also know you've spent a lot of time with the cops ever since the anti-dam movement. Don't think you can hide it from me. Got that? How did you know? Mion stood there with a dumbstruck look on her face. That was when I heard the principal ringing the bell for school. It was time for morning homeroom. Let's go. The class representative needs to be there, right? That moment, for the first time, I realized Mion was sobbing as tears ran down her cheeks. Oh no! You're so mean, Kei-chan. I wanted to console her, but I shut my mouth. I had no need to feel guilty. I'm going. Don't be late for homeroom. Oh. I left Mion, still shaking, as I turned around to head for the entrance. Oh my god. I had no idea how troubling it was to make a girl cry. Behind my back, I could hear her muttering. It was a faint mutter as she was speaking to herself. So that's how it is. Huh? She wasn't saying it to anyone. It was Mion talking to herself. But it was a sobbing voice that had a kind of giddy, cursing tone. I inadvertently stopped and turned back towards her. So it was that bastard. He leaked it all to Kei-chan. She pulled up her fists as her tears continued to rain down. She glared at a spot at the ground with a terrifying yet smiling face, cursing. A chill ran down my spine from that demonic expression. This transformation, Mion's transformation, was different from Rena's. I should have killed him back then. He forgot the mercy I showed him just because he was going to retire this year. Retiring this year? Was she talking about Oishi-san? Damn it. Damn it. I'm going to kill that damn old man. Okay, that's like... I'm like, yeah, I can't believe it was a prank. But like, this is like... Yeah, I should have killed this guy. I should have killed that guy. Maybe she's got anger issues. Maybe. I don't know, it's too weird. Like, I think she's really hurt by Keiichi being so, like, accusatory, I guess. Man. I felt like the air itself had begun distorting. With me on at the center, the world had begun to twist and spiral, bending, whirling. Are we back? Oh no! Is it... Now are we back? I think we're back. I'll give it a moment. Really frustrating thing that happens sometimes with my internet, where for like a couple minutes it just really shits itself. And I don't know why. Let me do like a... test. Okay. I think we're alright. We should be back. Oh, that's really frustrating. I'm so sorry about that. Hopefully it's okay for a while now. Right, I was looking up...
Visage.
Visage. Okay. I hate my internet, man. I'm a little worried that like it's not right because it's still like missing a bar. Okay, we'll continue. Alright. This is the first time I'd known no experience such a visage. I'm paranoid now. It should be okay. Hopefully the VOD's alright. Rise! Attention! Mion made up an excuse for her red eyes by saying there was something wrong with her contacts. After that, neither Reno nor Mion spoke to me for the rest of the day. She's got contact lenses? Or is that just also a lie? Neither Satoko nor Riko-chan looked me in the eye. Strangely, I didn't feel hurt. So just checking everything. Okay. Everything had just went back to the way it was. The month since I transferred in had been almost too much fun. That was all. School was supposed to be something like this to begin with. I should have disliked that feeling, but today it felt oddly refreshing. Okay, my bitrate is good. Everything is well. All is well in the world. The bell rang, sounding the end of the monotonous school day, which had felt so tense yet so dull. Since it would cause a lot of unpleasant memories if they asked me to join into the club activities, I promptly started preparing to go home without even looking at them. I stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag, wrapped my hand around Satoshi's now familiar bat, and began heading towards the entrance. I was assailed by both the exhausting relief that nothing had happened today and the tiring possibility of the same thing repeating tomorrow. But deep down inside me, far beneath in the recesses of my heart, achingly, I knew this would be the last day of this cycle. I couldn't tell how the ending would be, whether it would end as I wished it to end, or if it would end as I hoped it wouldn't. Regardless, in my current state, there was something more important than how things would end. There was something I wanted to know. Why did I have to be killed? How did it come to this? Why? For what purpose? The sunlight was relentless. The sun, the heat, even the air. They wouldn't give me my answers. Or could it be that the cries of the Higurashi were desperately trying to tell me something? Somewhere mixed in with their shrieks, Tomitake-san and Satoshi were also probably trying to tell me something. I simply haven't been able to realize it yet. When I do realize it, I wonder if I will be amongst the Higurashi fruitlessly crying to the next victim. Glancing down at my feet, I saw Higurashi on its back, spasming weakly. Boy. There was still much of the summer left, yet this one was already chirping its last song. I couldn't tell what it was saying, no matter how hard I listened. But I had to try. What are you saying, little Higurashi? What do your cries mean? I had to try to listen to what it was desperately trying to tell me. Oh, Keiichi, Mayabata, you're really losing it, man, huh? At that moment, the shrills of the Higurashi ceased all at once, as if they'd huddled together, fearing that the person who'd brought them to their dreadful fate had arrived. There was no mistaking it. A presence was approaching. The sound of footsteps was almost non-existent. If the Higurashi hadn't warned me by ending their chirping, I wouldn't have noticed. My exhaustion left me in a heartbeat. In its place was a rush of adrenaline that sharpened all of my senses. I was just barely able to hold back that creeping, suffocating feeling of horror. It wasn't something I could hold back for long. But in this moment when I needed to be razor sharp, I was able to retain my composure. I wasn't going to shout like I did yesterday. I hid myself calmly amongst the trees, waiting for my pursuer's shadow. Did I get them to pass by me? No. As I was able to hear their footsteps, they were probably also able to hear mine. They might have already been able to tell that I'd hidden myself and was holding my breath. The person tailing me, was it Rena, just like yesterday? If it was Rena, I wouldn't hold back. I could just yell at her and make her go ahead like yesterday. If it wasn't Rena, it would depend on how they acted, I guess. The footsteps ambled closer. I swallowed, wiped my clammy hands on my pants, and readjusted the grip on the bat. I could tell that the fear that I had beaten back once was now waiting for another opening to come at me. Who could it be? I peeked out from behind the tree at the person following me. My imagination hadn't led me astray. It was Rena. There was a bit of relief as I realized it was someone I knew, but that feeling left me in an instant. Hey Rena, what you got there? What you got there, Rena? Eh? This wasn't the same Rena that I knew. Her eyes were dark and lifeless, but her mouth appeared as if it was carved into a crescent. Yes, it looked like she was grinning slightly. And in her right hand was a hatchet. What you got there? A hatchet? No! I hid myself behind the tree once again and recalled the unbelievable sight I just saw. What was that just now? The embodiment of terror laid bare. Baseball, practicing my swing. There were tons of excuses for me to be carrying a bat. But for that hatchet? There was no excuse for that. What about Colonel Sanders? Right? Hatchet, just like that?
Keiichi-kun, are you playing hide and seek? I wonder.
My heart was pounding, hard enough that I had trouble breathing. What little composure I had been able to hold on to was now crushed. In its place, cold sweat gushed forth, covering my entire body, letting me know precisely what kind of emotion had taken hold. Not good, not good, not good. I wasn't able to hide myself completely. She already knew I was here.
Were you trying to scare me, I wonder?
I decided that it would be better to reveal myself now, since there was still space between us, than to allow Rena to come any closer. I adjusted my grip on the bat again, readied myself mentally, and stepped out from behind the tree.
I found you, Keiichi-kun.
Rena was pleased that she found me, eliciting a mysterious giggle. Her mouth was smiling, but her eyes told me she was displeased by the fact that I had been hiding. Those eyes, they were just so empty. My legs began to quiver. Not good. In the pit of my stomach, some sort of viscous, hot, and cold substance began spreading around. If I allowed it, that substance would slip into my bloodstream and undoubtedly freeze all the organs in my body. Not good, not good. I'll be devoured by Rena at this rate. Strike back. Don't lose. What is it? I blustered, hiding behind my bravado. But Rena didn't flinch one bit.
Just the same as Keiichi-kun. I'm heading home.
Then what about that hatchet?
And what about that bat you're holding?
I'm practicing my swing.
Then I'm treasure hunting.
Rena gave a flippant explanation as to why she had such a fearsome weapon. Treasure hunting?
At the treasure mountain near the dam site, I found a new cute thing, so I needed this to dig it out.
How could I believe that?
You wouldn't believe it, would you?
Rena's laugh was obviously very strange. I'd seen Rena's transformation many times before, but the one today was completely different. Like her mischievous tone and the shrewd glint in her eyes, it wasn't something that roundabout. Not sure what to say, it was just so obvious.
Wait, Keiichi-kun.
Rena didn't stop walking, even as she let out that eerie laugh. Whenever Rena got too close to me, I would scurry away and turn back towards her. This cycle repeated over and over. No matter how you looked at it, I was being chased by Rena and was trying to escape. Don't follow me.
I can't do that. My house is this way after all.
When I met with Rena on this road yesterday, she cowered and trembled as she followed my commands. But today was different. Rena didn't show a hint of trepidation. Actually, wasn't I the one who was cowering? If the way home for Rena and me was the same, that's fine. I'd just change my route. That'd work out, wouldn't it? I turned onto a side street I'd never been down and knew little about. But Rena saw me do that and followed me while laughing. Why? Why? Aren't you going home? Then just go home down the street you normally do. Why would you follow me down this weird little side road? Those thoughts screamed in my head, eventually spilling out of my mouth. Why are you following me? The tone of my voice was already tinged with terror.
Because I want to talk to Keiichi-kun. Keiichi-kun wants to talk to Rena too, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
I don't want to talk about anything with you.
It's a lie, isn't it? There's something you want to ask me about, isn't there?
Not at all. I have nothing to talk to you about.
It's a lie, isn't it?
Not a lie. Rena's scream echoed, startling some nearby birds into flight. I cringed in fear. The only other thing I could do was increase my pace.
Let's talk, Keiichi-kun. Talk. Talk.
Oops. Why was I running down this unfamiliar and deserted street?
Doesn't Keiichi-kun have something he's worried about?
Nothing at all. I'm not worried about anything.
Lies!
Even though I was running, even though Rena was walking, why wasn't I getting any farther away?
I know. I really do know. You're scared, aren't you, Keiichi-kun?
I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anything.
Lies!
My breathing grew heavy and it felt like my legs were giving out from beneath me. Rena wasn't even breaking a sweat.
I'll listen. This time I'll listen.
I had no idea what she was talking about or what exactly she wanted to do.
This time I'll listen. It will be different from the time with Satoshi-kun.
When she said Satoshi's name, I turned back for a moment. But even as I did that, Rena was still advancing. I couldn't afford to stop.
Satoshi-kun was worried too. It looked like he was having such a hard time. But I didn't listen. I was so sad.
Why did this street connect to? All these twists and turns, ups and downs. It was hard to believe that this was even remotely in the direction towards my house. My sense of direction had long since gone out the window.
I really regretted it when Satoshi-kun transferred out. I thought that if I had listened, he may not have transferred out. I really regretted that.
The road led me deeper into the forest. Wasn't I getting farther away from the village the more I ran? I lost more and more of my composure the more I thought about it. But despite this realization, my inner self was still disturbingly calm.
So you see, I vowed that if there was someone struggling like Satoshi-kun did, I'd save them. And I don't want to see anyone transfer out again.
Damn it! What does transfer even mean? I won't let you transfer me. I won't end up the same as Satoshi.
Come on, Keiichi-kun, talk to me. I'll be able to understand you, Keiichi-kun. I'm your ally.
I started wheezing out of breath. My lungs were so hot that they felt like they were going to explode and my heart was beating as hard as it possibly could. I should have practiced running instead of my swing. I couldn't even afford to scoff at that stupid thought.
Keiichi-kun doesn't have anything to worry about. He'll go back to normal. Everyone will be back to being friends and we can enjoy club activities again. Next time we'll team up and beat Mi-chan.
Yeah, how much fun would that be? Rena couldn't even imagine how much I had wished I could turn back the clock on these past few days.
You could be nice to me again too. I want to go searching for treasure again. This time I'll prepare a nice lunch. Actually, we could just go right now. Let's go up to the dam site together. I'll show you the cute thing I just found. I'm sure you'll like it too.
My footsteps made pathetic flapping sounds as my legs wobbled and faltered. Hot on my heels, Rena's steps were sharply breaking twigs underfoot. I had to accept it. I was on the run, being chased by Rena. If she caught me, it was all over. I realized it instinctively. I couldn't even begin to think of what the end would entail. Just that if I was caught, it was all over. That's all I knew. It didn't matter how it was going to end. I wouldn't let it end. Not without knowing anything. Not yet. That momentary lapse was all it took. Of all the things that could have happened, my knees buckled underneath me and I crumbled towards the ground. I tried to stand frantically, urging my legs to respond. I used my bat as a makeshift cane to prop myself up, but Rena was already standing right in front of me. Compared to me, out of breath and utterly exhausted, Rena was so cool and composed that she could have froze the air around her. She wasn't breathing hard at all, rather, I couldn't even sense if her heart was beating.
Are you afraid of something, I wonder? It's not like you to tremble, Keiichi-kun.
Her expression looked almost affectionate. Those soulless eyes, that mask of affection. As she admonished me for trembling, Rena's hands deftly slipped over her head. The blur of arms as they moved made me feel as if I was staring at the godliness of the thousand-armed Buddha. Then as both of her hands met above her head, the hatchet that she held came into focus. I stared up at it in disbelief. It was all I could do. Tell me, what happened to Satoshi? Rena stayed like that, with that hatchet raised above her head, and solemnly opened her mouth. It was as if she was expressing a farewell to a friend she was never to see again. That cruel scenario resided somewhere in her actions.
I told you. Satoshi-kun transferred out.
Enough of that transfer crap. Means demoned away, doesn't it? Doesn't it? You can tell me now, can't you? Who made Satoshi disappear? Was it you? Mion? Or someone in the village? Answer me! I became frantic the more I screamed, but Rena did nothing but maintain the smile frozen on her face.
I have no idea what Keiichi-kun is talking about.
Then I'll say it in a way so you do. Who is the perpetrator of this chain of mysterious deaths?
You need to be confused, Keiichi-kun.
But
There is no human perpetrator. Everything is by Oyashiro-sama's will.
isn't Oyashiro-sama's curse just superstition? You believe in that too?
Not about believing or not. Oyashiro-sama exists. Period.
Rena's gaze grew even more. I looked this word up yesterday and I forgot how to say it. Was it gelid?
Gelid.
It's gelid! Even more gelid. The ferocity of her stare was so intense, not allowing me to question anything. There's just no way that something like Oyashiro-sama could exist.
You don't believe in Oyashiro-sama?
There's no way I could believe it. There's no way it could exist.
It exists. Oyashiro-sama exists. Keiichi-kun should have felt it personally.
I never felt something like that.
Keiichi-kun, haven't you felt someone apologizing to you before? Constantly on top of that?
All noise from the outside world disappeared. Only Reina's voice resounded loudly and terribly.
You see, until you forgive them, they'll always be with you. At school, at home, at your bedside.
Couldn't understand what Rena was saying.
It came to me too. Oyashiro-sama did. That's why I transferred and came back to Hinamizawa.
Don't understand. Don't understand. What does transfer even mean? What was Rena saying?
Doesn't Oyashiro-sama come to you as well, Keiichi-kun? I'm probably the only one who you can confide in. I won't let you transfer out. Okay? Ha 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 ha.
Rena's demented laughter clanged around inside my head. Was Rena saying Oyashiro-sama came to her as well? That's right. Last night I had heard about that when I asked about Rena. Please keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. You still interested? Oishi-san began speaking. Neither the victims nor the school filed a complaint, so there's no preliminary report. Basically, the police hadn't intervened in this matter. All these details are just what I heard from those involved, meaning it's not that credible. That there were victims? Didn't Rena just break all the windows? No, Rena Ryugu had attacked 3 boys, using a metal bat. Oh shit. 2 of them made it out with only bruises, while the other had been injured so badly that one of his eyes was permanently damaged. But wouldn't that be considered assault? Shouldn't the police have arrested her? For whatever reason, the victim never pressed charges. There was no report for the police. There was no report to the police, so they were beaten with a bat and suffered significant injuries. Normally there would be a criminal investigation. But why didn't they press charges? I tried asking the 3 male victims for their side of the story, but they all were reluctant. It's hard to say, but they were all afraid, even after she had transferred schools. Oishi-san, could you summarize it starting from the beginning? Rena hit people while she broke the windows? Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored of hitting people? What was... Okay, hold on. At the very start. At the very start of the game, What if it was, I'm looking at my notes from when I first played. There's like a whole thing where I think someone's being beaten, probably with a bat, and they're like, I loved you. Maybe that could be the perspective of one of the boys she beat. Or was it she started breaking the windows after she got bored of hitting people? They sounded similar, but the meanings were drastically different. On an undisclosed date, Rena Ryuga was conversing with 3 male students, close friends of hers, near the pool storage shed. Who were those 3? I can't reveal their names, but they were close to Rena Ryuga, and it seems they were a group of friends. She was the lone girl in the group. But wasn't that strange that the 4 of them were together? So what happened? I don't know the reason why. She took the baseball team's bat that was in the pool storage shed and beat the 3 of them down one after the other. What? There were no witnesses. This was an account pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. One day after school, Rena and 3 male students were at the pool storage shed talking together. They weren't seeking help, rather, they usually met up there. It appears it became a heated discussion. At that time, Rena underwent a change. The change was so abrupt that the 3 of them didn't comprehend what was happening. Then, taking the metal bat, she attacked her friends one after the other. Leaving her friends covered in blood with gashes on their heads, she made her way towards the school building. What happened? And she broke the glass windows one after the other. A few minutes later, a teacher appeared unseen and subdued her. Why did she do that? What was this change Rena underwent? What matches up in the statements from the 3 was a sudden change. The point that there was transformation. Transformation. I also could recall Rena's transformation. I'd seen that change many times before. It was so different from the usual Rena that I couldn't help but believe it was someone else who looked like Rena. The transformation they're talking about, did it happen before? No, there was nothing like that. As far as I could find out in her medical history and past, there was nothing like that. Does that happen often? Where people change suddenly like Rena did? Of course it does. There are plenty of psychological phenomena that could cause something like that. Then, you're saying there was a dormant element in Rena that caused that transformation? I cannot say that for certain, but according to the statements of her friends, it's hard to believe that she had such a side to her. Kind, caring, and adorable. Even before she transferred here, she was probably pretty popular in school like she was now. That girl transforming suddenly and assaulting them with a bat. Who could imagine such a thing? Nobody could have seen it coming. I, myself, sometimes believed that I was mistaken for thinking that was Rena, even now. Then, what happened after that? There was a hospital right across from the school, so the 3 of them were carried in and treated quickly. What about Rena? What about the police? Why wasn't there a criminal investigation? You see, the police can't get involved unless they're called. Even though one was badly injured with permanent damage, why didn't they file charges? That's what caught my attention as well. Either some sort of threat or pressure was placed on them, or they had a reason they couldn't file charges even if they wanted to. We're talking about you after all. Of course you looked into it, didn't you? But like, the reason why they wouldn't file charges, she could have had something on them. Or they just really, like, cared about Rena that much that they didn't want her getting into trouble. Or like they did something that they shouldn't have. And so they don't want to tell people. Well, yeah, but I told you at the beginning, didn't I, that the victims were all very reluctant to talk. They didn't want to touch on the matter, or rather, they didn't want to be involved. Reluctant to talk. Didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to be involved. It resembled the villagers here in Oyashiro-sama's curse. 'Cause, 'cause 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 'c Did the teacher at that school tell you anything? School is hallowed ground. You could say they tend to keep scandals under wraps. I didn't have a search warrant, so I had to tread lightly, see. Then, there was no comment from the school? No. They denied the incident ever happened. It's just... 3 male students were carried in for blunt force trauma that day. That's all there was in the hospital records.
Hey, Underworld Wolf, what's up? Long time no see. How you been?
This is making I'm thinking with my little brain. So if there's no proof that... I mean, something happened.
I've been good, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like getting back into streaming. When they cry. Why is it good? When the West cries. My throat is starting to go. Maybe I'll take like take a short break. I'll make some tea. And I will be back. Let me... I'll return shortly. I don't want to fuck up my voice. I really want to get through this today.
So I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
I'm back. Sorry to jump out like right when people were popping in. Yeah, my throat was starting to do the thing where it stops working. So I made some tea. Be too hot right now? Probably. Let's find out. Yeah, it's hot. Hope everyone's staying hydrated as well. Alright. Let's continue. The victims didn't speak, the school denied it happened. And you don't know anything at all. Yeah, I know nothing other than the incident itself had taken place. Victims also wish this incident be kept from the public. So if you and I both forget about it, my Bada-san, this incident will probably just fade away. How does he even know about, like, the pool shed or whatever? There were no witnesses. Pieced together by the information given at the time of the incident. Details are just what I heard from those involved. He said like it's like speculation. Is he just pulling this out of his ass? Is this just like rumors? Like... How did... There were no witnesses. How does he know that? No one witnessed her beating them? Did they know, like, okay, she took the baseball bat from the pool storage shed? Like, cause the baseball bat there was missing. Matches up in the statements from the three was a sudden change. I don't know, I don't doubt that something happened, and maybe she even did, you know, hit them all with a metal baseball bat from the school pool storage shed. But like... I feel like the story's being twisted. I don't know, maybe that's... I mean... I like Rena, she's my little meow meow, okay? God forgive women have hobbies! God. For a brief period, we sat in silence. At first glance, it looked like a simple assault case. That was just the tip of the iceberg. The depths were obscured by roiling waves, sinking quietly into the void as if it never existed to begin with. After that, she was suspended by the school, and during that time she underwent psychiatric counseling. Did you hear anything from that doctor? Again, they were very professional in regards to their ethics, or at least very tight-lipped. Nothing even after you showed them your badge? I was told to get a warrant. The badge itself has no legal abandoned authority after all. Then how did you know that Rena confessed it was Oyashiro-sama who did it? There was a nurse I asked in that department. She agreed to help me just from showing her my badge. Then what did she say? Turns out that the nurse hadn't heard everything. Apparently all that she remembered was what she overheard from inside the room. The nurse said that at the time Rena Ryugu was very calm and mild-mannered. It was more like she was confessing her sins at church than a counselling session. She spoke with her mother there for some of it, but partway through her mother was asked to leave, so it became a private counselling session between just the doctor and Rena for a while. The part with Oyashiro-sama, when did that pop up? Partway through. She screamed the name certainly. That started the nurse and that's why she started listening in. It was Oyashiro-sama! Rena suddenly shouted that. I had no idea what was said before that, so I had no idea what the meaning behind it could have been. The doctor calmly and collectedly asked Rena to have a seat. What is this Oyashiro-sama you speak of? Gently, ever so gently. A fundamental part of counseling is to be a good, patient listener.
Whoever abandons Hinamizawa will be hunted down by Oyashiro-sama, and it's finally gotten to me.
The town you lived in before you moved here, isn't that right, Ryugu-san?
Didn't want to move, but because of my mom and dad's circumstances, we had to. But Oyashiro-sama wouldn't allow it.
Ryugu-san must have had lots of friends in Hinamizawa. Even now, you must be missing them dearly, don't you think?
I want to go back to Hinamizawa. No, it's not that I want to go back, I have to go back. I should have gone back much sooner, but now it's too late. Oyashiro-sama has come.
Oyashiro-sama is the name of the god in Hinamizawa, isn't that right?
Everyone knows. It's Hinamizawa's guardian deity, and if you ever try abandoning Hinamizawa by leaving, you'll incur its wrath.
You had moved quite a while ago, didn't you? Then it was just now that this god has arrived, is what you're saying?
You might not believe me, but Oyashiro-sama exists.
That nurse was then asked by another nurse to do something and left the room. That was all she remembered. It was Oyashiro-sama's doing, right? I do believe that there is some kind of superstition. I do believe there is that kind of superstition in Hinamizawa, that if you leave the village, then you incur Oyashiro-sama's wrath. You should be familiar with this part, Maibata-san. And knew very well what those scorned by the village incurred. To hinder the dam construction project, they caused the construction foreman to his death. They cursed. And then the following year, Satoko's parents, supporters, and leading advocates for the dam were cursed to their death. But this was the first time I've heard of the curse incurred by leaving the village. This is my first time hearing that. I can understand outside threats being cursed by the village, but why also villagers who leave? Normally people who leave villages aren't supposed to be cursed, right? I know it's a bit strange to say it, but I could see it as a rule that the people who come in are the ones who would be cursed. Far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. Curses weren't something to chase after people that leave, were they? Oishi-san pondered for a bit over on the other end of the receiver, then began speaking again. Well, I told you long ago when Hinamizawa was called Onigafuchi, didn't I? I recalled hearing that. Long ago, Hinamizawa was feared and respected as the village of demons. Villagers at the foot of the mountains worshipped the demons, so Onigafuchi was hallowed ground that you could never enter. It came to be said that if you entered carelessly, you were cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Maybe I should... do I turn on the game voices? No. Nah. Those who set foot in Onigafuchi, in other words, Hinamizawa, would be cursed. I can understand that. I know that. But for leaving to also be no good, that's... Also the demons, you see. They were being strictly watched by Oyashiro-sama, so they would not enter into our world. In other words, Oyashiro-sama probably restricted interaction between Onigafuchi and the rest of the world. His voice is getting more and more away with me. By the end of this series, he's gonna have like an entirely different voice. It's gonna be unrecognizable. I see. I finally understood what sort of thing Oyashiro-sama was. I'm just having fun with this voice. It's just fun to do. Silly voices. So basically, Oyashiro-sama is more like a warden than a protectorate deity, I guess. Trying to keep this place isolated from the rest of the world. I guess that's how it would seem. I'm sorry, I don't know very much myself. It's mostly what was passed down to me from my mother. Did we know this? Is your mother from Hinamizawa? Is that why you care so much? I'd understand it a bit better if it was like that. Those who came to Hinamizawa would be cursed, and those who tried to leave would also be cursed. So, because Rena originally lived in Hinamizawa and moved away, she fulfilled the requirements for being cursed. If Oishi is like originally from Hinamizawa, does that mean he is cursed? Or like his mother's cursed? Or was she just familiar with Hinamizawa, like she lived nearby? Or something. I don't know if this is stuff that we already know. So that means because Rena moved away against its wishes, she was cursed by Oyashiro-sama. Is that what it adds up to? In short, that seems to be what it points to, I guess. As a matter of fact, soon afterwards they did move back to Hinamizawa after all. Those who abandoned Hinamizawa and left were cursed. But then, why only Rena? Shouldn't Rena's parents also have been guilty of the same transgression by moving away and have been cursed? I feel like the way that I'm like reading this is like Rena's got some kind of delusions or like hallucination like stuff going on. And like by moving back to Hinamizawa, surely that would just be kind of feeding into it more. And then like maybe with the Watanagashi, I think that's what it was called, the festival, and the demoning away and shit, maybe that's like she's really kind of losing her grip a bit. And that could be why, like, Mion's like, don't say Oyashiro, don't talk about Oyashiro-sama so loud, like, especially not around Rena. Also, in this day and age in Japan, shouldn't there be a lot of people coming and going? If every single one of them was cursed, then it'd be insane. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a deal at all. At most, there would be one person dying and one disappearing on the day of the Watanagashi. Okay, is this a pattern that's already been pointed out? Like, I think in last stream I was like, oh my god, one person dies, one person disappears, this is like groundbreaking, revolutionary. Have they already like explicitly pointed it out in the text? That's embarrassing. Okay, that's fine. That means I'm on the same page, right? That's good. I don't like saying it most though. Well anyways, there's a lot I still don't know. Even if it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, it doesn't explain Rena beating her classmates with a red metal bat. Allegedly. While the victims wouldn't press charges. I mean, they wouldn't press charges if it didn't happen. Maybe they got into a fight with each other. Maybe they just thought it'd be funny. You know? Boys are weird. Who can say? You don't think the victims were Karen because they believe that a terrible curse had befallen them, do you? He's like planting seeds. Oh no, that could it possibly be a curse? Just planting a little seed to fester in incredibly paranoid Keiichi. Of course I didn't want to believe it. More importantly, I had just realized something else. There was another bizarre connection that Rena made between Oyashiro-sama's curse and the metal bats. Satoshi fell victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse and went missing. I'd recently learned that Satoshi had also become infatuated with the metal bat right before he disappeared, just like me. Maybe okay, it could be the same bat that Rena used. Like, she took it with her, and Satoshi's like, hey Rena, I wanna practice my swing. Can I have your bat, please?
She's like, okay, you can put your name on it.
Then Rena as well. She was affected by Oyashiro-sama's curse. She confessed that much to the doctor. And the weapon which she had used at the time of that horrendous act was, again, a metal bat. And finally me. I'd encountered various things that were inexplicable, and now I was holding onto a metal bat. I was shocked when I learned that Satoshi did the same thing. It couldn't be. The same thing happened to Rena? There was one critical difference between her and Satoshi's case. That being, Satoshi went missing after falling victim to the curse, but Rena was still here. I mean, Satoshi transferred. Rena also transferred. You know, we don't know that Satoshi's dead. He very well could have transferred schools. Hey, thank you for the subscription! I love, it's a good emote. I really appreciate it, thank you very much. What was I thinking? I was thinking something. Yeah, maybe Rena's just like, okay, when I was in contact with the metal bat, then I was like, I want to transfer schools, and so she did, and then Satoshi came in contact, and then he transferred, and now she's like, I don't want Keiichi-kun to transfer schools, so I'm gonna chase him with a hatchet. I don't know, man, what's the... I'm sure I have a screenshot of it. Hold on, let me quickly dig through my screenshots folder. I will not do this for long. My screenshots folder is an absolute disaster. But I'm sure I have a screenshot of, like, Rena had a condition that normal people didn't. Quickly. Oh, I think I'm going too far back. Yeah, I'm going too far back. Oh. 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 No, it's gotta be around here. I'm sure. I feel it in my bones. I'm digging for treasure. Just like Rena. Oh, I found it! I found it! I found it! I found it! Okay, wait, sorry for Rena jump scare. Rena had a disorder that normal people didn't. It's so good. It's so funny. I love it so much. Maybe I'll just keep this here. Let me rename it. I can pull this up when needed. It's so good. She's just like me for real. Both of them had fallen victim to Oyashiro-sama's curse, yet they were met with different endings. And finally me. I couldn't call it a coincidence anymore. Rena, Satoshi, and finally me. Could it be that I was really under Oyashiro-sama's curse right now? No, more importantly than that, what should I do now? Satoshi had been demoned away, vanishing without a trace. I mean, we don't know that! It just said that he's transferred out and he's like, oh my god, they fucking killed him! He's fucking disappeared! Rena was fine. Fine? Rena had undergone a change. I could only believe that there was something that wasn't Rena residing within her. Okay, well, you know, Keiichi's gotta be like, oh my god, no, this can't be Rena. She would never do this. Nope, not me. I love Rena for all of her flaws and all of her fucked upness. So... and here, right now, it was standing before me. Oh... Rena, please tell me. What will happen to me? Rena stood imposingly, not answering. Satoshi disappeared, but Rena didn't disappear. So, what will happen to me? I'd never heard such an unpleasant laugh before. It had become akin to the sound of her breathing. It was no longer a voice or an expression of feeling.
Don't worry, I'll save you.
Rena took one step forward, still holding the hatchet high above her head.
Now then.
One step closer, Rena's face spread out to fill my vision.
Speak.
One step closer. Rena's nose was close enough to touch mine, and was still pushing closer.
There's something you want to say, isn't there? I'll listen. I'll save you, okay? Speak, okay? Speak, okay?
I slumped down, landing squarely on my butt. It wasn't for some pathetic reason. It was all I could do to get as far away from Rena. Okay, I'm not... You can stop now, Rena. I had the gut feeling that I couldn't let her laughter end, because when that laughing ended... The moment I picked up on that feeling, my body moved by instinct. I sprang to my feet so fast even I couldn't believe it, and pushed Rena away with both hands. Whoa, it's Earthbound Fan! Rena's trying to kill us! We're in danger! Rena has a disorder that normal people don't have. I know. I can't be Wazugu. I've been taken over by a clone. The clone that streams 2 days in a row. Rena was light as a feather. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm forcing myself to get into the habit of streaming, so then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna stream, and then it's like, it's no big deal. Because when I get out of the routine, it's like, it's so easy for me to be like, I'll do it another day. But I'm locked in now. I'm wazzing it up. Thrown about by the imbalanced weight of the hatchet, she was sent backwards, as if she had been carried off by the wind. After confirming that out the corner of my eye, I dashed off at full speed. I was the perfect picture of fleeing like a greased pig. Is that a saying? I mean, it makes sense. If a pig is greased and it flees, I imagine it could flee, because it'd be greased. And it's a pig and it's fleeing and it's greased. Get away from Rena. Run away. Survive. I couldn't think of anything other than this. While I was running, I remembered I'd been holding onto a bat the entire time. Such a worthless weapon. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about this weapon at such an important time. I sped even farther down the winding path. I didn't even feel myself gasping for breath or my legs getting heavy. My body understood it as well. If I didn't run away from here, I wouldn't live. I could hear the laughter of that simulacrum of Rena coming from behind me. It rang through the trees and in my head and slowly chiseled away at my sanity. The grove of trees thinned out, my field of vision suddenly expanding. Where was this? For a moment I was bewildered by the scenery I felt I knew but couldn't quite remember. I quickly realized it was the damn site. That damn site. The fact that I dashed madly and ended up in a place like this gave me a bad feeling, like I was following someone's scripted plot. I had a good view of my surroundings, but I didn't see a single soul here. This was a terrible spot for someone on the run, but there was no better place for an attacker. My heart was already on the verge of bursting. The muscles in my legs were screaming, but I didn't care. If I stopped here, then they might not even be able to scream for much longer. Even still, I glanced back, looking for an excuse to rest. Rena wasn't there. Instead, I saw 2 villagers walking around. I breathed a sigh of relief that it wasn't Rena, but a third party, except the voice inside me rang the alarm once again. Villagers walking around weren't suspicious in and of themselves, but it bothered me. They both wore rough-looking clothes. Empty-handed, they definitely gave the impression that they were just out for a walk. But this time of day, 2 adults wandering around without a purpose, it was enough to raise questions. More than anything else, those eyes. They weren't chit-chatting while walking. They were both silent, heading forward, looking in my direction. Was I at the end of my rope and had finally started imagining things? I should run away. That was probably the best choice. If they weren't involved, I'd lose them easily by running. If they were part of the group after me, then they would come running after me. Either way, unless I hurried up, Rena would catch up with me. That's right, I was going to run, deciding that the moment I began to turn tail, both of them rushed towards me as if they knew exactly what I was thinking. Somewhere inside me, I jumped to the conclusion that Rena was the only thing I needed to be afraid of. I made the assumption that I didn't need fear anything else. But right now I realized just how blatantly wrong I was. Suddenly, the story Oishi-san told me about the demons all leaving the village to hunt prey floated through the back of my mind. I could tell they were both coming after me, without even turning around because of their frenetic footsteps. It was frightening, being unable to shake Rena off as she slowly closed in on me, but this didn't even compare. Being pursued with such violent ferocity, this straightforward horror was unparalleled. One of the pursuers' arms grazed my shoulder. Now it wasn't just their frenzied footsteps, but also the distinct sound of their breathing that I could hear. No, I could practically feel them breathing on me. They were already right behind me. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Still running at full tilt, I felt the surrounding area go still. No, it felt like time itself had stopped. I turned my head back slightly in that frozen world, realizing how close my pursuers had gotten to me. I couldn't win against the legs of an adult. In less than the time it would take to blink twice, when this frozen time began moving again, they'd be right on top of me. On top of me. And then? Don't think about that, Keiichi. First, realize that you won't be able to shake them off like this. If the fact that you can't get away was a given, then you need to make a decision. Go with the right leg or go with the left. You just need to decide which one. Let's go with the left. The moment I decided that, the temporal singularity burst into pieces. Right. Left. I swung the bat in a wide arc with my right arm. Using that inertia, I stopped and suddenly spun. What? The two of them were clearly startled. Momentarily losing sight of me, both their outstretched arms, ready to grab me, instead grasped at empty space. The man on the right, I applaud him being able to figure it out, spun around to the spot I shouldn't have been, and faced me in astonishment. But it was too late. I didn't even need to swing my bat. All I needed to do was extend my arms as I turned around. It was by no means a heavy blow, but it seemed like it had enough power behind it to knock him off his feet. But just knocking him down wasn't enough to scare him away. He got back up in no time. Both of them took a fighting stance and were ready to face me. This made me certain they weren't just two people out for a walk, they were clearly after me. It felt much easier than dealing with Rena. Just by not recognizing their faces, by not knowing them, it made things easier. I smiled wryly on the inside. What do you want with me? Next one is going to be right in your face, you bastard. It's fine if it was just a bluff. By barking out at them, I was able to fire myself up. They didn't respond. They spread out to either side of me with unbelievably calm expressions on their faces. One of them would grab onto my bat and the other would hold me down. Was that their plan? Taking on both of them at once would be impossible. Hot sweat poured from every pore in my body. Then I'd just have to settle it with the first move. I'd step in and strike the first one down. Narrowing my target down to the man on the right who had already been knocked down before, I stepped in and swung with all my might. There was no way for an unarmed person to guard against it. It would cause immense damage. If they blocked it with their arm, their bone would snap like a twig. If they turned their back to it, it was possible that the blow would travel all the way to their vital organs. It looked like he was aware of this. He pushed farther through the kill zone between us and delivered a fist right into my gut. Not good. With this distance, in this position, in this state, there was no way for me to dodge it. The world flipped upside down. I understood that I was being tossed around like a rag doll. I landed on the soft earth without a sound, feeling the grainy soil press against my face. It didn't hurt at all. But the moment I thought that, I suddenly felt pain coming from the abrasions on my skin, as well as the contents of my stomach being forced upwards, flooding my mouth with a bitter sensation. I knew very well that I didn't have the time to relish this experience. I stood up as quickly as I could, but at that moment, the other man was already barreling towards me. Being able to comprehend calmly that I simply couldn't dodge it all made it all the more upsetting. Whew. After ploughing into my stomach full force once again, my assailant twisted around behind me and locked his thick arm around my neck. My throat felt like it was being crushed by his immense strength. I couldn't even contemplate that I was being strangled, or that I was about to go unconscious. My vision simply darkened, and the silent whining noise began playing deep inside my mind. It took everything I had to keep myself from blacking out. While this was happening, the other man was more than likely standing in front of me. I wasn't able to open my eyes, but I could feel that he was there. There was nothing I could do now. Unable to shake this arm off me, I couldn't run. I couldn't fight back. Dire straits. I couldn't even come up with a phrase that adequately described my situation. A familiar ceiling. The smell of the bed and pillows. I knew them well. Was this my room? Normally there wouldn't be anyone in my room besides me, but their presence made me spring wide awake. When I did that, pain shot throughout my entire body.
Feeling alright? I think you better just lie down for a bit.
Why was Rena in my room? Blood began to surge through my muscles and my capillaries. Not my capillaries. But Rena's smile belonged to the Rena I knew well. I knew I shouldn't let myself feel this way, but I relaxed thinking that this version of Rena was safe.
Don't you remember?
Losing consciousness. Nothing at all. My body had become more lethargic than I could ever have imagined. I guess that would be the expected outcome after exerting everything I had back there. I tried to at least clear my head, but I just couldn't shake the sluggish feeling out of my mind.
I called the doctor. He should be here soon. I think you better just lie down until then.
I wasn't injured seriously enough to merit calling a doctor, but knowing that someone impartial was coming was slightly reassuring. Why am I here? Sure, I was at the dam site.
But I want to know. What happened? When I got there, Ch.1 was already passed out.
That's why I'm the one who wants to know. I was attacked by 2 weirdos. I talked about it, I finally remembered what happened right before I passed out. Recalling that memory and the terror that went along with it caused the fogginess around my head to clear right up. Let's forget about those 2 for now. I didn't expect Rena to be nursing me. I thought Rena was trying to kill me. She would have had the perfect chance while I was unconscious. Not only did she not kill me, she had nursed me back to health. Amazing you could drag me all the way back here. Wasn't I heavy? Looking at Rena's delicate frame, it was hard to believe that she had not only gotten me back home, but even dragged me all the way up to the 2nd floor. Did she have some help?
Don't you remember, Ch.1?
Rena appeared a bit surprised, but still kept her smile.
I only propped you up on my shoulder. You said you could walk on your own and that you were fine. You don't remember?
I didn't remember. My memory was fuzzy after the point where I lost consciousness. What about those 2?
Huh?
When you got there, Rena, the ones with me, or rather those 2 guys.
There wasn't anyone.
She said it bluntly. The way she stated it felt slightly unpleasant. I was just too timid at that time. I might have been able to force some answers out of Rena. But if I did that, then this kind Rena might transform into the scary Rena who I didn't know. Fearing that, I didn't press any further. Thinking about it, it was the obvious choice. If both of those men were there, I don't think Rena would have stood a chance. I couldn't find a way to explain it unless I assumed that she brought me here after those 2 were already gone. Rena was still smiling. Her eyes sparkled warmly. Yet, I felt like I was hallucinating when I saw something akin to a shadow slowly creeping across her face. That small omen sent shivers down my spine. While Rena was still Rena, I needed to make contact. I needed to contact Oishi-san. Rena stopped me when I tried to get out of bed. She said it would aggravate my wounds, so I should sleep. I'd like to go to the bathroom, though.
Sorry.
Rena couldn't say anything else. While Rena stood in the room, I quickly went downstairs to get the phone receiver in the living room. When I approached the front door, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. It must have been the doctor Rena had called. It was strange for a patient to welcome in the doctor who was making a house call, but it would be incredibly reassuring to have him here for the considerable time it would take Oishi-san to get here. I carelessly opened the door with that simple assumption, and regretted it almost instantly. Mion! And your gun! Why does she have a gun? I don't understand. Oh, you look just fine. I heard you collapsed, so I came to check up on you. How did you know I collapsed? I heard from Rena over the phone. Don't need any reason other than that. I understood why she would call a doctor. But I'm Mion too. Rena was descending the stairs behind me. Rena, doesn't Kei-chan look pretty alright? She may be worried for nothing.
That's true. Maybe I worried for nothing as well.
We both began laughing. It appeared to be cheerful laughter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a darkness looming over them. Whoa, what's up with this shoe rack? How did it get like this? The shoe rack that I'd smashed to pieces had been like that since yesterday. I fell, you see, and the bed I was holding at the time slammed into it. This is what happens when you swing around something you're not used to handling. I kept the fact that it was none of her business to myself.
But leaving it like this will really startle your parents when they get home. I'll fix it up for you later.
Now, come on, Kei-chan. The terminally ill need their rest. Come, back in bed, back in bed. The terminally ill? Not funny, Mion, not funny. Both of them urged me up the stairs. I had no chance to call Oishi-san. I was pushed into my bed. As it was the first time Mion had been in my room, she began searching around it intently. She fiddled around in my room and was scolded by Rena. You can imagine how it went. It was uncomfortable having my room poked around, but the conversation was so benign that it was heartwarming. During that innocent conversation, Mion said something as though it was perfectly ordinary. Rena, did you call the director?
Yep. Right after I called Mii-chan. He said he'd be right over.
Director? That out-of-place word gave me a bad feeling. Rena called a doctor. Called Mion. After that, called a director? Who was this director? Since Ren and Mion's conversation was so peaceful, it only felt slightly odd. What are you two talking about? Who's this director? Didn't you know, Kei-chan? We mean the director when we say director.
Like a director of a movie, or like a foreman of a construction site.
Like a director of like a hospital? Right? But... I dug through all my memories for a director who might have business with me. Only one thing came to mind. What Rena had just said. The construction site foreman. The very first victim of the first incident, the dismemberment at the damn construction site. Foreman? That was strange. He was supposed to be dead. There was no way they could call him. I don't understand what you guys are talking about. What does that director have to do with me? You said he was coming. Did you mean to my house? I asked one obvious question after another. But all the two of them did was smile coolly at each other. There was a huge difference between how the two of them appeared and how my suspicions were playing out. Slowly, I felt discomfort and panic welling up inside me. I couldn't understand what Ren and Mion were talking about. Kei-chan, you've got into baseball lately, haven't you? Pretty sure the director will be happy to hear that. Who is this director?
The director is the director.
So, who is this director? What? Is this all an elaborate prank? Like... Ren and Mion looked at each other and laughed haughtily. A disturbing cackle unpleasantly resounded around me. Okay, yeah, I get it. That laugh, long enough to be unsettling, ended abruptly. Oh, yeah. We should finish up before the director comes. You remember, don't you, Kei-chan? My face was laughing, but Mion's eyes told a different story. Remember what?
Keiichi-kun, have you forgotten, I wonder? About the penalty? About the penalty! Did you really forget? The homework with the mochi? The homework where you're supposed to guess which one Rena made? You forgot about that homework, didn't you?
Certainly did have that homework. I had thrown away the rest of the mochi after I found that sewing needle. But I wasn't able to answer which one Rena made. Penalty for that? Why now? No doubt my question was written all over my face. Their answer to my question was that dry laughter. I could no longer make heads or tails of anything. I began to think that this entire day was somehow insane. Strange. Incomprehensible. Being chased by Rena. Attacked by strange men. The penalty Mion and Rena were talking about. If I have to laugh again, my god. What were these two laughing at? It didn't take that long for me to realize I'd been dragged into an abnormal situation. Who were these two? Who were these people? Who were these doppelgangers of Rena and Mion? Rena had gotten behind me at some point. Why was she pinning my arms behind my back? What are you doing?
Don't move. This is your penalty.
My body was already very sluggish, and Rena pinning my arms made it that much harder to move. I seriously tried to struggle, but she wouldn't even budge. My panic began to well up, and I realized this was well beyond the realm of jokes and pleasantries. This freakishly monstrous strength would have been impossible for the Rena that I knew. Then, these thin, frail arms grasping me firmly. Whose arms were they? Kei-chan, no struggling. Clever rule number. Nah, it doesn't matter which one. You can't fight against the penalty. Mion, no, that thing that looked like Mion, spoke to me like how Mion would speak to me. But I was certain that this was not Mion. Someone who wasn't Mion. Someone who was just pretending to be Mion. Need to finish this up before the director comes. Mion fished into her pockets and pulled out something bizarre. I could tell what it was just by looking, but for such a thing to be in her pocket, my mind wouldn't accept it. What is that? It was a small syringe. A small clear syringe, the kind a doctor might use if you went to them with a high fever. Rena held me even tighter, and I could hear that clattering laughter that no longer sounded like laughter blaring into my ear. That eerie laughter. It wasn't something that the Rena I knew could ever produce from her own throat. This thing that was pretending to be Rena. Was this their real laugh? Unable to defend myself, the syringe Mion was holding drew closer And that needle tip was waved in front of my face countless times. Don't worry, don't worry. It won't hurt, it won't hurt. What are you planning on doing? What kind of sick joke is this? What are you saying, Kate-chan? You know exactly what's going on, don't you? About what? I don't understand any of this at all. I know you know. No use playing the fool this late in the game. Stop talking nonsense and try to confuse me. You're gonna have done to you what happened to Tomitake-san. What? Same as Tomitake-san? Didn't really understand what she meant. What did that have to do with this syringe?
You're playing dumb, Kate-kun. You should have realized it by now.
Rena whispered into my ear, laughing as if to admonish me. But even the way she spoke was repulsive beyond compare. Playing dumb? Me? About what? What do you mean, the same as Tomitake-san? Everyone thought at first that it was a hit and run. Except when the officer got closer to check if he was still alive, he soon noticed that it wasn't a normal situation. His throat was scratched out. From a knife or something? No, nails. Nails? Nails as in fingernails? With those gouged through? That's right. Tomitake-san had clawed out his own throat with his own nails and died. There's no way someone could die like that. But then for that to happen, I thought drugs were to blame, but nothing of that nature was detected. That's right. The police didn't find any drugs in Tomitake-san's system. The police told me didn't find any drugs in Tomitake-san's body. Gue 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 gue. The two of them laughed together with that sickening laughter. Of course they'd laugh. To assume that such a medicine didn't exist just because the police didn't know about it was completely foolish. Meaning the drug that caused Tomitake-san to die in such a bizarre manner did exist? If Mion injected this into me, then that would probably be all the proof I needed. That would basically mean I'd end up the same as Tomitake-san. Become hysterical, scratching out my throat in my last moments, then die. For such an outrageous drug to exist. For Mion to be holding it. And that I was about to be injected with it. At that moment I did not feel there was any need whatsoever to question it. What kind of idiot, when he's trying to dodge a ball flying straight for his face, has time to think of a reason as to why it's flying at him? Just give up. Alright then. Mion's actions lacked any gravitas, and that made it even more terrifying. There was none of the ceremony, like when someone is sentenced to death. There was no hesitation at all, as if she were brushing her teeth. Mion reached out with one hand and grabbed onto my chest. It felt like electricity had run through the back of my head and the entire world had gone dark. Did I stand up too fast? Or did someone hit me really hard in the back of the head? Having lost my sense of balance, I was assaulted by a wave of dizziness. Okay, I'm trying to... It could be... Because they drew on his shirt, didn't they? It could be... She pulled out like a marker. And that's why Rena's holding his arms back. And she grabbed his chest. It's like, I'm gonna write on your shirt. I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, my entire room had changed drastically. The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly I could tell blood was flowing to my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? How many minutes? Or has it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time passed. Really? The air in the room wasn't filled with that madness from before, only a dull silence. Rena wasn't there pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be? All of it. Was a hallucination? There was no other presence in the room besides my own. It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. It was certainly with Rena and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized with some sort of comfort. Guess that terrible ordeal was a hallucination. Neither Rena nor Mion. They would never do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Hey. That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? I don't understand. I don't understand. kind to everyone, not discriminating against age or gender. Mion. But Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Blood stained her deep red from her head down to her chest. The bright crimson smeared on the walls. That splatter had undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had that bright smile and was kind to me from the day I transferred. Rena. That same Rena was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. I couldn't comprehend what had happened. Did someone come to save me? Then they beat these two down? With this metal bat? I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red. There was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. Holy shit, I forgot about this. Holy fuck. I was the only person in the house. Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. I did this? That's right. Keiichi Maebara. Of course I did it. I told myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me. There is no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need to regret it. Eat or be eaten. Beat or be beaten! Ooh! You get that, don't you? But the blood, there's so much. Neither Rena nor Mion had moved an inch. It wasn't just a split forehead and a trickle of blood, nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that told me it didn't end with just 2 or 3 strikes. They dead? Both of them? The depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. Do it like you always do. Throw back your head and take a deep breath. Come on. Once. Twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. Calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision, and smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remembered what happened when I blacked out. Rena and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the same symptoms as Tomitake-san. Right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Rena as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through with a spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. It was so soft. Rena tried jumping on me, so I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Satoshi's bat that was left carelessly by the side of my desk. Weep. That moment, everything went pitch black. There was nothing recorded past this point in the videotape of my mind. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine, just the other me inside myself had told me not to look and had turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. The TV was just off. The video was still playing. The tape within me, creaking along, still playing. On the other end of that pitch black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eyes, was still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls, the 2 of them in these unnatural poses. Not a sign of movement from them. Couldn't even tell if they were breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. May have even killed them. But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out on an imaginary scale, it felt odd that I'd even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive. This was justifiable self-defense. The proof was all here. The 2 of them collapsed here in Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomitake-san. From the fact that both of these 2 were involved, they'd be able to pick out the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this, but that was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into darkness like Rena's past incidents. As long as the police were involved, that should bring this to a close. They'll probably revisit their investigation on the chain of incidents. Oishi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Meaning, my wish of not wanting to die. of wanting to know the truth. That would be fulfilled in its most basic form. It was all a matter of time now. The Dr. Renner called should be getting here soon. I'll confess everything to him. I needed to contact Oishi-san. At that moment I remembered. Besides the doctor, a director had been called. It was easy to imagine that there was someone deeply involved with the incidents, judging from Reina and Mion's conversation. The ache in my chest, caused by the gruesome deed I'd done, dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maebara. It's not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment I felt like I heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean there was more than one person. I moved the curtain ever so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They very much resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me at the dam site today. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person there wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to open the front door, pretend to be a doctor to get me to open the door, and then the rest of them would all rush in at once. At that moment I saw the car parked behind the men and my heart nearly skipped a beat. The white van. You know what I think it is? I think it's the prank patrol. No mistake. No mistake. No mistaking it. That van, the one who tried to run me down. The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend that I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they'd just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somehow. Then use a public phone to contact Oishi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I need a weapon, then shoes. But before all of that, there was one thing that I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of Oyashiro-sama. But what happened from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that was why. There was one thing more important than getting out of here right now. I needed to get that clock quickly and take down the note hidden behind it. Damn it. The tape was sticking to it fast. It'd be fine if it was torn a little. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. If I wasn't able to inform Oishi-san, then the only thing I could rely on was this note. I'd never thought a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Reina and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact. I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help lead them to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the director. To begin with, the term director didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include the directors from the past incidents, then the only one is the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim in the chain of incidents. Killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death, but Reina and Mion did both call him director. They said director. They wouldn't use that term to refer to someone who was dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Would that be some sort of oversight? I didn't know. But even if I didn't know, it could be a big hint for Oishi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of this string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. But was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions, but he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah. Something even more important I needed to write. Tomitake-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right. That drug. It was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. This syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe into the back of the clock with plenty of tape, so it absolutely would not slip out and fall to the floor firmly, firmly. Ding dong. The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore. But even still, there was one last thing that I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. This may be the closest thing to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you're reading this, then I am probably already dead. but you may or may not find my body. If I was going to write out everything that could happen, either dying from the curse or being demoned away, you who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. Oh, goosebumps, man. Holy shit. With this, my last will and testament was complete. It wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note, stuck it back onto the back of the clock, and returned the clock back to its usual spot. I couldn't help but pray. Oishi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. After that I gazed down silently at Rena and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Rena, Mion, I really had thought all of us were friends. But why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying, in competitions, in personal records, and standardized test scores. Everyone here told me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have had no obligation to shed tears for them. But they wouldn't stop, even if they were after my life. Even if they were trying to kill me. Everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. How could it be? Those happy days were all a facade as well. Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until today to ensnare me? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were my friends? That couldn't have been the case. With Ren and Mion, they were really my friends. Those happy days, there was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try to kill me. Or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Rena and Mion, they were the best friends ever, and when they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. But they weren't the kind of people to sell off their friends no matter what means were employed to force them. There was no way such a thing as being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. And the real Rena and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Rena and Mion, I was still debating if they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake, only the reality that was before me. Rena and Mion were sprawled out at my feet. That was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit, that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it, it wouldn't change reality. Rena and Mion were both dead. But like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. But like my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. I killed them. I killed them. Rena and Mion. I killed them. I want to see how long this will be, because I don't know if I should keep going or if I should save it for like tomorrow. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I think I'm gonna leave it here for today. Just because I think it's gonna drag on for a little longer. And be able to finish it next stream. So thank you all very much for coming. This has been good fun. Hopefully the VOD isn't fucked up like yesterday's, and hopefully it isn't especially fucked up because of the whole my stream disconnecting. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming along. I may stream tomorrow. I'll need to like check what's on and stuff, but I'll be streaming within the next few days, like at least. So yeah, thank you all very much for coming along. Hope you have a wonderful day or night. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.